They were gone. I didn't have any. I just tore them up. Did you notice uptown where I put my flashers on at the stoplight?
Yeah.
Well, that's Highway 32. You know, they come around and take up donations, but the Red Cross takes up donations.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I never knew of them ever giving me anything. I mean, anything I got, they charged me for it.
Someplace,
And they sold the stuff, we took them on the black market.
yeah, I know.
We hauled, I don't know, 400 or 500 pound bags of sugar, and I've forgotten how many. And the reason I knew about it is I hitchhiked to town and I rode in the back of an army truck, and it had these big 100-pound bags of sugar. And the reason they had them is if we got air crew shot down, well, the mess sergeant is supposed to say, I won't need 400 pounds of sugar this month, and turn them back in. But he turns them back in, and in comes 10 or 15 airplanes with 10 people apiece on them. He needs 400 pounds of sugars, and they said, well, you've got to write a requisition and go through all this line of stuff. And he says, I can't get it. So the easiest thing to do is give it to the Red Cross Club. So I rode to town, unloaded the sugar on the loading dock in the back of this stone building I'm telling you about. Go around and go up inside and get coffee, and at that time I used sugar in my coffee. And I asked the girl for sugar for my coffee. She said, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have any sugar. And I said, oh, yes, you do. We just unloaded 400 pounds on the back platform. Oh, no, we don't have any sugar. I said, lady, look, I know all about this. I go walking through the thing and get to the back platform, and she was right. They didn't have any sugar. But some Italian somewhere had sugar, because somebody down there sold it to them.
Oh, they really had it going there, the market.
Well, yeah.
I know, they had a big black market there. Remember the premium item there, shoes?
Yeah,
Any size, any kind, shoes, that was a big item.
I used to like to watch these Italians in their shoes. You'd see them out in the country walking along with a pair of shoes like I've got on, under their arm, walking barefooted.
Saving the
Gotta save them, yeah.
Yeah, and he'd get into town, he'd sit down, put his shoes on, he'd walk down through Folger just to strutting away because he had nice shoes on. So, you remember there was a canal that went along the road into Folger? And I went by there one day, and these guys, I saw something. Yeah, I saw this big explosion, and I thought, what in the world? And these guys jumped up, and they had garden rakes, just like we have here.
to stun the fish.
Raking the fish out. Oh, what they kill. And down on our trash pile, they seemed like there was some English, South Africans.
South Africa, yeah, we had the South African Air
Yeah,
Force
but there was some
at our
English
base.
bunch around there, and hand grenades have to be turned. All the nitroglycerin runs to this end, and you turn them up so it runs to that end, and you do this every so many days. Now, I may be wrong about the chemical, but that's what I think it was. And if they forget, the minute you let loose of the lever, and all the nitroglycerin is in the wrong end, the thing blows up in your hand. So what they did was they'd take them down, just cases of them, just set them down at the dump. They had kind of I don't know, I called it dump, but I don't know what they called it. It looked like a dump to
It
me.
looked like the rest of the town, probably.
And these
They were
Italians
pretty well
evidently
beat up.
would come down there and get cases of them. And I don't know, I guess they just hoped that they wouldn't blow up. I said it was been me, I'd have tied a string on that pin, throw it in the water, and jerk the pin. But I don't know what they did. But I'd see them throw them and hit the ground, because that's the way they did their fishing.
Well, it's
I mean, you
efficient.
I mean, I don't know where you found a worm over there, do you, other than in town? You could have scraped them off of the people, maybe.
Well, I know they had a lot of flies.
They had flies. Yeah.
Do you remember going along the road where they got all the tomatoes cut up, and then they're having them the sun is baking or whatever they do for their sauce.
Yeah.
I mean, you realize there's tomatoes under there when you go past because all the flies come off. But they get covered.
And those little kids would run along and they go,
Yeah.
get a finger and ball eat that sauce.
I guess the flies, they probably add to the flavor.
Yeah.
It must
They're
be.
adding something.
That's pure Italian.
Then the horse was in the room next to him, So that helped for the fly situation. They had the horse here, the tomato sauce sitting out front, so I mean, you badly have flies.
Oh, man.
Oh, gosh.
That's why, see that odor, oh, jeez, that was something else. And now they say it's just a nice little town, huh? The people have gone.
Well, we've got pictures of it. Somebody said, "You recognize this?" No. He says, "That's downtown Foggia." I said, "Well, it didn't look like any downtown Foggia that I'd ever seen."
Oh, yeah.
But
I don't think so. Is that, but you know, we had there was a couple, I know Jim Eagle and I and Burr, I don't know if anybody else, we would take our laundry there. There was a couple in Foggia. They're real nice people. You'd bring it in there, they were so grateful for that, you know, of course you paid for that. They'd sit you down, they'd give you a little glass of, I don't know, some sort of little drink, and they'd say what you want this, and you would drink that little thing. They're so quiet, so nice, you know. It's really nice
I'm
people.
glad I
remember
wasn't
that.
an officer. They came and picked our laundry up and did it for us. Wouldn't have a thing to worry about. He had to pay for his.
We had to pay for everything, doggone it.
Yeah, but look how the nice tents you had.
Oh, that leaky
It
son of a
didn't leak
gun.
very bad.
Oh, no, only when it rained.
That's all the time.
Oh, I remember the first night I was in there when it rained, I would realize it had rained. Of course, you got the mosquito bar
Mhm.
over there, you're completely in there. And I'm sleeping, and of course, while I'm breathing, I'm hearing that whoosh, whoosh. What is that? So I wake up and I look, and there's water all over me. The blanket's covered with water. Every time I breathe, it splashes. Oh, that was so nice.
Oh, we in that tail gunner, old John Stoll.
Yeah, I'm going, John.
The first tent we had leaked, and they told us to melt paraffin and stir 100 octane gas in it
Oh,
and make a paint. And we
that's
get
right.
up,
And then you spread it on the
we get up
outside.
on the get up
I
on
did
that
that
pyramid
too.
tent, and we paint this down. And so I'm up on the tent painting away, and about that time something went whoosh, and that tent flew up in the air about 3 feet with me on it. And I saw this bucket of fire go out the door of our tent, and John Stoll come out with a whole mouthful of chewing tobacco, and I said, "What in the world you do?" He said, "Well, he called me Malcolm." So Malcolm, he said that stuff was getting stiff, so he put it on the stove with that 100 octane gas. It just about lit the daylights out there. I said, "How did your husband get killed?" "Well, he fell off the tent."
There you go. That stuff didn't work too well, though. My tent still leaked.
Well, yeah, but, you see,
Maybe I didn't do it right.
officers
I didn't put it
know
on the
how to do that. Officers weren't used to painting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you'd have got some
gee.
enlisted men over there, you could have painted.
Yeah, I know, we lived like kings.
You sure did. Well, somebody in your tent gave me an air mattress, and I was the only guy that I knew of that had an air mattress.
Oh, really?
Now, I don't remember, you gave it to me, or Ethel gave it to me,
No, if I
somebody.
had one, I would have kept it, I'm sure.
Well, they had an extra one. I don't know how I got that air mattress, but somebody in your tent gave me that air mattress. And the only thing I found wrong with it is I had to blow it up every night because it leaked.
It leaked.
And the next morning I'd lay here down flat on the
Yeah.
thing, you know? And as you say, the thing, the humidity, I suppose, the heat for your body, and this plastic air mattress,
Oh,
you'd be laying in a pool of water.
oh, yeah. Oh,
That thing would
God,
get
yeah.
wet. Goodness.
Okay, so
Now, I
I'm
was
getting
gonna
this.
say, you talk about the tent, you know, I mean, that nice neat tent we had now. Ethel was quite a character.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Because now when who was our new COO, McGregor, Colonel McGregor, when
Yeah.
he replaced Colonel Kurtz, he came by to meet everybody, you know. Would meet, I'm Colonel McGregor, hi, what are your name, and so forth, so on. And before he came, they had somebody come by and said, "You got to clean this tent up, because he's going to come by and inspect." So, so we started throwing the junk around, rearranging whatever we did. And when McGregor came over, he's talking to us and said, "Well, how's things going?" He said, "You know, Colonel, they had us clean up the tent. Now I can't find the doggone thing around here anymore." He was really outspoken.
Well, Eagle is the guy
Yeah.
that, I guess maybe about 11 o'clock of the night, we moved into a tent across the way from where we were, and some other crew had taken the sidewalls and pulled them out, and they've got refrigerator crates or something, some kind of shipping crates, and made wooden walls around the edge of it. And these flaps made the tent wider. We put our beds under there. And somewhere they got a wooden door with a window in it. And so we used to put this bird shot in our 45s, and I don't know why, we just slept with it. Somebody had been telling about some guy had been stealing stuff or something.
Yeah, they had some of that going.
So one night, Eagle let out a war whoop, and we shot the door glass. "Oh, for crying out loud, fellas," he said. We all opened up, just blew the glass right out of that door. "God, this is Eagle," he said.
Gee whiz.
But he just thought he'd wake us up for, some kind of a call, he called it, whatever that was.
Yeah, you know what well, you can't say that.
We blow up the camera. But Tony wants you to tell where you got into officers training and why and so forth.
Oh, yeah, well, actually, I was down in Keister Field, Mississippi. I was in the Army. I got drafted, and I was working, they decided to put me in personnel. So after basic training and all that, I went into personnel. Then I got in what they call the morning report section. Each morning, of course, I had to go through. And I stayed there, I don't know, a year or two. But I got up to sergeant. As a matter of fact, they put me in sergeant of place. I was sergeant major. And to me, that was, come on. My brother's in the infantry. He was 1B. They put him in the infantry. Another friend of mine, Willie, I remember, he was 1B. They put him in the artillery. Because when the war started, everybody got healthy, when they were drafting. So I thought, I don't know, here I am, pounding a typewriter, and I'm 1A. I'm supposed to be a healthy guy. So I thought, and I just decided I would fight the cadets, which I did. You have to get recommendations. Well, luckily, our family doctor's son was a congressman, so I got a recommendation from him, and a recommendation from our butcher and whoever was around. You got to get, I guess, about 3 of them, and they accepted me, and I went in and went through cadets. They decided I would be a bombardier. I don't decide that,
Now, how old were you at this point?
Pardon?
How old were you?
Well, I was drafted at 21, and at that time I probably passed my 22nd birthday at that time. So I was 22. When we went to well, they training, cadet training was about a year. Took just about a year altogether before you get your wings and commission. And you go home on your leave, I don't know, what was it, 15 days, I guess. Then they sent me down to Florida. That was where I was going to have my overseas training. But they didn't have a clear-cut destination for me. So they sent me to Boca Raton, Florida, and I was billeted in a hotel. That was, so tough. So, and they said, well, you got to check in and see when we get orders for you. Call in the morning. So I called in the morning. I said, well, Lieutenant Decker checking in. Any orders today? No. When am I supposed to call? Just call every morning. Okay, goodbye, bang. Down to the beach. I spent a solid week on the beach, I think. Every morning I'd call in. Any orders? Well, finally, the day came. Yeah, we got orders. So I went up to Tampa for training up at Tampa. That's where we got together.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we formulated the crew and did our training together and so forth. And then
Now,
they all
you
decided
had a
we're
ball-
ready to go, and we went.
You had a ball turk gunner before I came
Yeah,
along.
we did. I can't remember. I can remember him. He had to go on sick call because what had happened. He decided he wanted to celebrate, so he drank. I don't know, aftershave lotion or something. Something with alcohol. He got sicker than heck. So they put him in the hospital. I went to see him, and I told him what a foolish thing that was. I mean, for crying out loud, you know, as an officer, we were allowed to leave. We had that privilege. We could go to town when we wanted. I said, if you wanted to drink so bad, why didn't you tell me? So now we got to get a replacement ball turret gunner, you know. But luckily, well, with a, I mean, the guy with an attitude like that to drink after shave lotion to get himself bombed out of shape. We were real happy when we got Keith. Let me tell you, I just tell you
Sober too.
that. No, but that was a good thing that happened to us actually. So that was great. So we actually were glad we had you.
What?
I
Nobody
know,
ever told me
I
so.
can still remember you skinny guy jumping up and down, always running around. You never seem to sit still in the place. There's something
Must be where
else.
Katie gets that from, isn't it? She never sits still.
I often wonder what you did in that ball turret when they closed it up. You had no room to move.
Oh, I did. I had my parachute and my shoes in there, and I could still jig.
With all that room in there.
Yeah, all that room.
That had to be a lot of fun.
Had my own bar. Had everything. Oh, that was a bear, not a bar. I had to stop and think what that was.
Need to
It's
tell.
funny, you know, you're supposed to familiarize yourself with all the positions. I know I went in the ball turret, and I can frankly tell you I didn't like it. To me, I said, this is, oh, lay in your back. Oh, no.
But they
It's
told
too
me that
confining.
glass was bulletproof. That glass down there that you were sitting
Was
there looking
bulletproof.
at. Said, yeah,
Well-
that glass is bulletproof.
Well, we found out it was kind of semi-crash proof, what didn't we? When that plane come up under us?
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
That wing hit the bottom of the ball turret, bounced it up in the plane and broke my oxygen line off, and I couldn't breathe.
And that guy went down.
Well, I saw him level off, though. He flew on with that thing with the tail chopped out of it.
Yeah, oh, man.
And he fell, I don't know how many thousand feet, and I called Burr and I said, I can't breathe. He said, you can now. And I could. I says, what happened? He says, we're at 14,000 feet, and I think we're at 26,000, so we went down 12,000 feet.
Yeah, we had to drop.
From the time
You're
he
trying to
took
get
me
below
to-
the clouds. Because
No,
I couldn't see anything.
Well, he went down after that guy hit us, and he went through the number 4 engine.
Yeah, that's right, too.
Knocked the propeller off of it.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't hurt,
Not
knocked
like
it
we
off
did
of it,
get
but
any
it sure
damage.
sprung it all out.
At least we kept the ball turret.
Yeah. Someplace we were getting ready, we were having trouble, and Bird told me to throw out the ball turret. Says, get rid of it, get rid of weight. And I don't know who the co-pilot was that time. I said, what's the co-pilot doing? He said nothing. I said, throw him out, we'll put the ball turret. But, well, the thing that I didn't want to get rid of that ball turret, because we'd seen some fighters, you know, back here chasing around. I thought, man, they see that ball turret go, they'll fly up under the bottom of
Oh,
us
you're
and
not
shoot the
kidding.
daylights out of
It was
us.
vulnerable down there then.
Because I said, they know darn good and well that they can fly underneath of you then. But those guys evidently had a lot of respect for the Sperry sight on those ball turrets, because they would stay just from here to the crossroads away from it, because
Well, they
just
got-
out of your range. They knew just about how close
They got to
were.
learn, you know, they come back with their stories, they tell each other, and they learned.
Well, you know, they told, a guy down there yesterday told me that those 262 jet pilots was the cream of the crop of the German Air Force that flew those.
I mean, the ones that were jets?
Yeah, those jets.
Yeah.
They said they were the cream of the
They
crop.
had to be because they never missed. Well, they could only make one pass, but they always got somebody.
Well, you know, there's 4 of them. I guess that was a Berlin mission that they had 4 of them circled us.
Oh, they did.
And
Well, that one I was down there.
they'd, you know, come in and I'd get on them. Of course, they can see you as good as you can see them. I know they can. And the guy, he'd roll over and back out he'd go. And by that time, there'd be one coming in from behind me. And I'd switch around on him. He'd do the same thing. He'd roll over and now there he'd go. But they'd get within probably, I don't know, 300 or 400 feet, 500 feet of you.
Yeah.
And they knew if they come any closer that you could hit them. And what was the thing shot? Was it 1,400? What was it, Jerry? Do you know 1,450 yards or?
Oh, I remember.
Or feet? Which was it? 1,450 was a number, but I can't remember his feet or yards. Since I haven't done that for a while.
What is that?
Distance.
Or the range.
Range. And these guys kept saying, "Ball turret, shoot at him, ball turret, shoot at him." And I said, "I'm not gonna shoot at him." I said, "I'm not mad at him, and he's mad at me, and if I make him mad, he may shoot
He
at
might
back."
shoot back. That's
I
right.
said, "Let him go on and get away from here." But what they would do is they'd bait you. They'd come in and get you to give them a few seconds burst, and they know how many rounds of ammunition, I can't remember now, but they knew how many rounds of ammunition you had. And they knew how many 2-second bursts that you could give. Now you haven't got anything left. So then they could come in and shoot the daylights out of you. But as long as you don't shoot at them, they don't know if you're empty or if you've got a full load, and they're a little bit afraid to come in to find out. Now, waist gunners, they just drive them nuts because, I mean, you got to shoot above them and in front of them and, to hit them. But the top turret and the ball turret both had computerized sights on them. And you could shoot whatever you pointed at. I mean, it had a glass that you looked through.
With a scope.
And it had a reticle in it. And your left foot run the thing in and out. And I don't know now, but we knew the wingspan of every airplane that flew. I mean, we memorized it. And so when we got into here, we knew what size plane it was, and we knew about how far out he was. So when he got into, he fills this thing, we'd open it up just a little bit and let him just get in just a little bit farther, then he's right in our range. No problem at all. I mean, you could just hit him. Did you ever go through a gunnery deal where they had an upper turret with Remington automatic shotguns in them, and they drove around a track, and they should throw clay pigeons out of trap houses?
We did that, Dad.
I shot skeet like that, yeah, they had something
Yeah.
like that. They had it mounted on a platform though.
Well, no, the ones that we had
The
were on
ones
Dodge
I
pickup
did, they had it
trucks.
on a platform and it was on a track like that.
Yeah.
A turret and you shoot skeet.
We had a kind of a racetrack, or an oval track, and they had trap houses around, here, there, and wherever. And you were setting this upper turret with one Remington shotgun on the side of it. That's instead of having 2 guns, just had one. And you get your turret aimed on that trap house, as you can see it as you're coming down the track, and when that clay pigeon, you swing around and shoot it with that shotgun and the turret. And it was just more fun to barrel of monkeys. I mean, everybody was ever on sick call when they were going to do that. I mean, everybody liked to do that. That was
That
just
actually
real,
was
just
fun.
genuine
Of course,
fun.
you guys had a lot more. I mean, you went through a lot more comprehensive gunnery training.
Yeah.
I had, whatever they thought was necessary.
It's kind of like
which wasn't a whole lot.
It was like my radio training. When I was supposed to be the assistant radio man. Now, the farthest in my mind is learning the Morse code. I've got to do this in about 3 days. Boy, you can't learn that in 2 or 3 days. So they had me run this test, and I was just did terrible. I mean, I knew V for victory. I could remember that because they da-da-da-da on the radio. But I couldn't. The guy said, "Oh, that's okay." Said, "You're getting about 3 words a minute." I am. I thought, I hope the radio works. I don't ever have to depend on me telling
Depend on
anybody and I
that, yeah.
get 3 words in a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I said, you're doing all right. You get about 3 words in a minute.
Yeah, we had quite a lot of that Morse code stuff. Oh, man.
Gosh, that's
It was driving
terrible.
nuts.
I didn't like that at all.
So how do you learn how to use your bomb sight? How do you learn how to use that bomb sight? What kind of training did they do?
Oh, well, that was in cadets. They had, you go to, well, you got your primary, then you have your, let's see, basic primary. Well, anyhow, the last school is where you decide to go to San Antonio, where you're classified, San Antonio Air Force Base. And there you decide what you're going to be. They check your qualifications out, decide, well, you know, you have the aptitude to be this and that, and of course you're given your choices. Give a first choice, second choice, third choice, which you ignore completely.
Yeah. Okay, this is what you're gonna do.
But I'm gonna be a pilot, like everybody else. Pilot. They come out with a list, you know, they post them on the board. Hey, pilot, let's see. Hey, they must have missed me here someplace. Well, what's next? Bombardier? Oh, yeah, okay. I'm a bombardier. But that was all right. I mean, they get to learn that. I went to, that was in San Angelo, Texas. That's where you get your training. I mean,
Well, did you
learn
drop
bomb
some
sight.
practice bombs or something off
Oh,
planes?
yeah,
or-
do a lot of dropping bombs. You have all sorts of targets. Well, you have a bomb trainer, which you do inside of a big hangar. It's kind of a motorized, big, tall thing with a bomb sight on it.
Okay.
And they have what they call a bug that goes on there. This simulates your target. And that bug moves. And it's got a piece of paper top. Then you have a solenoid on the thing when it comes over a certain, when you're synchronizing, and your trainer moves over that thing, and if you hit it, the solenoid will come down. That'll show you how far off or how close you were to the target. That was a bomb trainer. In fact, they even had them overseas. You use that once
So
in a
were you
while.
good?
When we got socked in for long periods of time, you had to keep your skills up. You'd have to heavy work on that too. But most of it was aerial. Most of it was
Could you hit your target?
Were you good at hitting the target?
Actually, I was. Yeah, I had a real good score. Well, that qualified me to be a lead bombardier overseas, and because I just flew I don't know how many missions.
You
It's
say you
hard
had a
to say
perfect
how
score
many
on
the
it?
first few missions.
Did you
But
say you had a
then-
perfect
then-
score on it, Jess?
Then I was a lead bombardier. Because when you fly, combat squadrons had 2 bomb sites, lead and deputy lead. So if lead gets shot down, deputy could take over. And I had the lead spot because a lot of bombardiers never had to use a bomb site overseas,
Push the
which is a
button.
strange thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that, of course, they were qualified. I mean, if need be, they were there, but they'd have a bomb site in order to do it.
Well, they had toggleers.
Toggler, yeah, they used a lot of toggler.
Sergeants
Yeah.
were they call them toggleers.
Yeah, some of that.
And as long as you're flying along with him, as
Yeah.
long as he's got the target line, they said open bomb bay doors. They open the bomb bay doors. Said bombs away. They go.
Yeah, all they had to
Hit
do
the
was
switches and they're
familiarize
on their
themselves
way.
with all the instruments to know it was a toggleers.
Long
We
as
trained for that, and when the lead would drop the bombs, the togglers would simply throw their switches and drop their bombs.
Did you ever have any hang up?
Oh yeah, that's got to be routine. When you're up at very high altitude, this stuff will freeze. You have your shackles, the bomb shackles, and it hooks onto the bomb. And at very high altitude, sometimes they'll freeze up. So when that happens, I have to go back and release them. Well, you got to They give you a tool to do that, it's called a screwdriver.
I thought it'd be a stick.
It's a special military tool. But anyhow, what would happen then is, after you leave the target, I mean, you know where the navigator would have all the clear areas, so when you get a clear area, I'd have to go back into the bomb bay and reach over and release that thing. I never liked to do that because with the catwalk, there wasn't room enough for a parachute. I'd have to leave my chute at the bulkhead, you know, and you're leaning over that open bomb bay, you know. It's not like you're free and clear. You're still in enemy territory. You're still on you, you know. And you're trying to release those things. You got to pull back quick so it doesn't take you with them. I wouldn't have cared much for that. I used to call, I called a radio operator because he had a door right by the bulkhead. Asked him how the bombs went. He said, "Oh, we got 2 of them hung up." I said, "Okay." Hamlet, you want to go about Hamlet? Larry Weaver. We call him Hamlet. He said, "Well, you want to release those things?" And he had a couple words for me, but he'd always say, "Sir." It was kind of a joke we had going, because I knew he was not supposed to do it. I always kid him about it. But why don't you release those things? Sure. That was the thing. I always hated to hear if the bombs were frozen or hung up. Oh, that was no good.
You ever bomb anything you weren't supposed to?
Pardon?
You ever bomb anything you weren't supposed to?
Now tell them about the barn. Yet you remember that?
No, I
We
know
had a,
we
we had a
had
stuffed bomb, and we had to get way out in the country, and you called Larry and said, "Go in and pull the pin on that bomb. I'll see if I can shake that loose." And I thought, what's he gonna shake it loose at? So I start looking, and I see a barn. I thought, uh-oh. And about that time, the barn exploded, fire went everywhere, and he hit the barn.
not my
So
responsibility.
then S2 says, "Boy, you guys did a good job. The Germans had that stored full of gasoline," and I knew they did.
Oh, yeah.
When the fire went off.
Yeah, I did that.
So he made a believer out of me, because here's a barn
I know
about the
about
size
that.
of this and down here, and a guy at 16 or 20,000 feet we were at the time. We were on our way back.
Yeah.
I thought that's a pretty good hit. Well, you couldn't hit it with a bass fiddle on the ground.
Well, that worked out nice because, you know, in cadet training, if you, bullseye was called a shack, because they had a little mock-up of something. If you hit the bullseye, the shack, you said, "Well, it's shack." Well, that's great. That's what you're supposed to do. So that was a shack.
Your memory's getting better, I noticed. You couldn't remember that the first time
No,
I
I
told
couldn't.
that story. He didn't want to admit it, I guess.
Oh. No, I actually didn't remember. You know, it's
You can't
you
remember
release a
that.
bomb went down. Well, in a lot of cases, I don't see where they hit. You know, because when you
You ought to call the ball turret, you can see.
yeah, I know you could always see it. Yeah, you would always tell me my
Right.
hits.
I could find it.
Hey, listen, I want you to know my crew called me Pinpoint. That's something.
No joke, he was a good bombardier. There is
Yeah.
absolutely no doubt about it.
But the thing
I
was
don't
when
know
you,
if he could get through that dining room door, but he sure could drop a bomb.
the thing is, you know, when you bomb, well, in training, you know, you bomb, and then you can watch and see where the bomb hits. Well, in combat, you don't do that, because after you release the bomb, you just call the pilot, "Let's get out of here."
Gone.
He just points the
I can hear-
wingtip down to the ground, and away we go. You know, you don't want to wait to see till the
I
bomb
could hear
hits.
that Weaver yelling yet, "Burr, use evasive action." And I thought, yeah, what are we going to do? It's solid black. Where do you want to go? He wants Burr to dive or climb or do something. Turn left, turn right.
Yeah.
But I could hear him.
Well,
yell.
that was a big item on the bomb run. Evasive action is what you use. That's when it's hooked up to the bomb site. You
He
gotta
does
keep
the
that-
flying.
Keep that thing moving so that they can't hit you. And Meanwhile, you got it straight, you're sighting, then you go away, and then you sight again, and so forth. It's sporadic, you have to do that. But it's something that, well, you're trained for it. I mean, it's my job, you do it, you know what you're doing, so that's the way it works out.
See, when I got the first crew that I was on, as I say, the reason I got off that crew is the co-pilot was an absolute dope. I mean, he was a college football hero, and he had Air Force insignia on his watch out of diamonds and rubies because Mom was very wealthy, and she sent him, and he had Zippo lighters with jewels in them and all that kind of stuff, and he couldn't much more than get an airplane over the field, let alone land it on it. The gunners evidently had all been to drunk school because they had no idea what a German airplane was. It may be this wide or 200 feet. They had no idea. We'd go out on practice missions. They couldn't hit anything.
Oh,
And
gee.
one of these guys,
Gives you a lot of confidence, don't you?
I said, this is a good place to get away from. One of these guys, remember when the WAFs, went to women
Yeah.
those WAFs?
Yeah,
They flew A-20s.
yeah, they were, well, they ferried,
Well-
because we went over their field when I was training in Texas. That was our favorite spot.
In gunnery school, they had women pilots pulling the sleeve target,
Uh-huh.
and we were riding
Oh, they
the
did that.
T6s, and they said, now all you have to do is shoot straight across into the sleeve target. Don't don't shoot in front of it, don't shoot above it, straight across. That's all we want. When your machine gun breaks, everything was set up to break. You have to dismantle it midair, find out what's wrong with it. This one turkey got 3 shots fired before his gun broke. And all 3 of them went through the airplane and shot out the hydraulic system. So these gals were mad enough to kill it.
Oh, that
Now you-
pilot liked it.
But you see why I didn't like to be in that crew?
Oh.
I mean, shoot straight across. What else do you have to tell them? So he said, I'll get over here so I'll get it when it comes by.
Oh, this is a guy you're gonna have to depend on.
And he got three bullets went right through the, really, I probably should have stayed with that outfit because, after all, he did hit the airplane. I don't know what he'd done in combat, probably hit our plane.
Just
Good.
tell him, don't aim, just hit, yeah.
Oh, just what a terrible bunch of jokers that was.
Let's have one good flight war story, and then we'll call it quits. Because some people have to go to
What's
Wisconsin.
a flight war story?
Well, what's your scariest moment?
Yeah.
You remember what was the?
Well, that when, I know we were talking a little earlier about the time when we came down and the running, the landing gear collapsed,
Well, it wouldn't go down.
spinning in there. Yeah, I know, we
Right,
had,
the
well,
right one wouldn't go down.
this was a time out, we lost, I don't know, I think it was the starboard engines. 2 of them were coming in pretty badly, as you know. We were shot up pretty badly. And I remember when we came in, I think it was the inboard on the port side went off. It's an emergency, it was emergency coming down. Because I can still remember that we were pulling in one engine. Burr was, that's the reason that everything went crooked like that, because he had a really crab. Because he had power pulling only in one side. And it was, the landing just, plane isn't made to land that way. Because I can still remember circling on the mats, on the steel mats, with the sparks flying. Gee, I think, oh man, I hope you don't ignite anything, But we all walked out of that.
Oh, yeah.
We all walked out.
And the thing that I never could understand, if I'm not mistaken, we flew that plane the next day because the ground
I
crew
wouldn't doubt it.
put
yeah.
new engines on it and got
Yeah.
whatever was wrong with the hydraulic system.
Oh,
and
these
got the
guys really
wheels.
did a job.
So they
yeah.
go up and down, and how you can land an airplane on one wheel, fall down on the right wing, and that thing must have spun at least 3 times, And the next morning, we go down and get the thing and fly. And
See, Burr would have made a better landing if he had power, but he had.
But Burr was a good pilot, there's
He
no
sure
doubt about
was.
that.
Well, he was an instructor, you know.
Yeah,
He was an instructor before he
but
got
I
on the combat
mean,
crew.
he could fly an airplane.
Yeah.
And you know, some of this stuff that I picked up off the computer tells about B-17s, B-24s, and so forth. And they said the only problem with the B-17 is you had to wrestle the rudder control. It was so hard to turn. Well, you know, Burr let all of us guys fly the custom thing. And I'd never driven anything with power steering, because at that time you didn't have anything with power
Yeah,
steering.
right.
But it felt like it had power steering, because he'd say, kick the, turn the wheel,
Uh-huh.
kick the right rudder, then when you're level off, kick the left
Yeah,
rudder.
you gotta move.
And why, you could fly that thing around like it was a kite. I mean, it's just perfect. And why that book tells about what a stiff rudder they had, I just don't understand that.
Yeah, I know, well, Burr and Eco, Johnny would take a nap when we were on training in Tampa. And Bill Thayer, the co-pilot, and I would be flying the plane. And heck, I liked it, I thought it was great. It was fun.
Yeah, but you also got lost. You didn't tell that.
Boy.
part, did you?
Never paying no attention. Well, he was teaching me power letdown, where you keep the same speed going, but you have to pull back on your throttle when you're letting down. It's a little technique. And he's teaching this to me, paying no attention to where we're going, finding, a time that we better start heading back. So we look out, all we can see is water. We're in Florida, we were in Florida, but there's all water. We're out in the Atlantic someplace. And so, well, no problem. I called Eco. I said, we're ready to go back. He said, where are we? He said, I don't know. Oh, thanks a lot. So he had to
The sextant.
the stars, yeah, what is that?
The sextant.
Celestial navigation.
Celestial navigation. Get over the celestial dome and shoot the stars and check his book and all that and find out where we were. Said, holy man, where are you guys going? They're way out of east, we're heading east all the time. So we had to turn around and come back to Florida.
Well, you didn't run out of gas.
No, there was no danger there, because we had so much time that we're supposed to fly, and we have enough fuel for that. Thank God. Good thing we're out further out, yeah. Because that wasn't total. I mean, it wasn't like we were flying the whole time that way. This was just, it was just during my power letdown instruction.
Oh, we had enough fuel to always stay in the air, what, 10 hours probably?
Oh, yeah,
Empty.
heck, some of those missions were really long.
When I say empty, we could stay in the air 10 hours without any problem at all. I mean, no bomb.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and as you fly across, the gas will get lighter, and if you drop the bombs, well, that's gone too. That's lighter, and the ammunition and so forth.
You know, they tell me that Berlin mission that no planes went down due to running out of fuel.
Yeah, that was amazing. I would say, you talk about a well-planned mission. That was,
The co-pilot on that Berlin mission that I flew told me, he said that's the co-pilot's job, was to figure the gallonage of what you, in other words, he was figuring the miles to the gallons that
Yeah.
you flew. And he said, there was no doubt in my mind that we could make it, but I remember in briefing, they told us that you guys better fill your cigarette lighters, because you'll have to squeeze them in the tank if you intend to get back. I remember they telling us that at briefing.
well, Kalinikas was real good at that. Our engineer, but he was very good. He knew the plane, and I think he was really good at what he did. He did a nice job, because what was built there was fine, but then we got, who was that nutball we had as a second co-pilot? I can't think of his name. I think I was Wacker, but Les Willard after that,
Willard was the
a
one.
good guy. He was a
Also.
good guy, yeah, he was a nice, good guy. But the second, Burr refused to fly with him.
I don't remember who that
Because
We must just
I'm
start
trying
on
to
the
think,
training
well, he was
flight.
in the tent with us, so I just, this name just slips my mind, but the thing was, we were, when the heck was it? Oh, yeah, we had to pull up, we had to go around, coming in for training, you know, coming in for a landing. And, this is when Spur really got mad, because, he had to pull up, he said, go around, so Spur had to pull back, you know, we gotta go around, try for another landing. And he taps, goofballs, you know, raise the flaps, you know, he's got the flaps on, raise the flaps, he never did it. And Burr's fighting that plane, wondering what the heck is wrong, and finally, you can really hear, "You son!" Because he's fighting that plane, we could have crashed. He went right into see Colonel Kurtz. He said, "I don't want him on my crew ever again." That was the end of his tenure as co-pilot. How he ever got to be
Was he
in
a
a
warrant
cockpit of a
officer?
plane? No, he was a second lieutenant.
We seemed like we were stuck, I don't know, was it first
He
crew?
he was nuts.
But somewhere, we were stuck with a warrant officer someplace, and he didn't know diddly squat. We just kind of wasted time.
Would that been a Mickey Navigator on there?
I don't know, there was someplace in my mind, I remember one of those guys, the little blue bar, that was a warrant officer, wasn't it?
Yeah, flight officer, they called it in the Air Corps, with flight officer.
Well, whatever.
Warrant officer, flight officer, same grade, except the distinction was that he was in the Air Force. But they had blue instead of that brown stripe.
Yeah. I remember that someplace, and I don't know where we got him or whether we just flew a training mission with him. See, they used to send us out on training missions, and
Yeah, I didn't remember the flight officer. Well, flight officer would be, when you graduated from cadets, the lower part of the class were flight officers.
the first sergeants ended up being, or staff sergeants ended up being flight officers.
Well, you're commissioned as a second lieutenant, but those that don't quite make the grade. I mean, you graduate, but you know, on the lower end of the roster, you become a flight officer. But they had an advantage because when they went overseas pay was 20%, right? An officer got 10%.
Oh.
See, we did better than you. We got 10%.
Oh.
But the flight officer got 20, and when he got his promotion to lieutenant, he still got 20. That was good for them.
That's not bad.
See, you goof up and it pays off.
How much did you end up with after you paid for everything? Do you remember what your salary was?
Yeah, as a second lieutenant, 150 a month plus 50% flight pay and
Overseas,
10%
so
overseas. Then you jump from 150 to 166, 67 a month as a first lieutenant. Of course, then they take off rations and quarters, and had to pay for that. as a
You know,
lieutenant.
darn, if I'd have known you in such bad shape, I'd loaned you some money to get
I
along.
wish you would have.
I
No,
got
actually,
$178.50.
Actually, I didn't. Yeah, I was sending money home because where do you spend it?
Well, it was $18 a pound for cheese. That's what we used to spend ours for. Yeah, it was. That goat cheese and 2 liters or
Oh, yeah,
something
did you
cost
get the? No, I
$18.
never got it.
Oh, you never bought any of that?
No, I didn't.
Well, I'm sure it's sanitary.
Well, of course.
Yeah, but in this day and age,
I remember the
everybody
tomatoes,
died
the
from it.
flies. Of course, it's sanitary.
Very seldom you found a dead
Oh,
fly.
so many times I meant to ask you. Now this is the time. Now we went to Capri rest
Mhm.
camp. Now you know this non-fraternization thing they have going. I know I borrowed a uniform from Dick Struthers as a sergeant.
Yeah.
I wanted to go out with the guys, you know. Were you with us at the time? It's hard for me to remember.
Uh-uh.
I got a little hazy toward the end there.
No, I didn't go. Gilmore and I said those guys had probably just gone out and work all the bars, and we went. to
Well,
prayer
I guess we
meetings.
did our share, but we had, we went to some restaurants, and I don't remember too much about it, but they're telling me the next day, say, hey, Lieutenant, how in the world did you ever eat that meal? You had your head laying on the table. I don't know.
I don't
even know I
remember
had a
that
meal.
deal. Yeah, I got home, I was hungry.
Well, this would be a good time for you two guys to shake hands. Because my hand's asleep. There we go.
Oh, Dick,
You
you're
got
all
a good guy here, let me tell you.
right. Oh, my.
Well, it's a
But-
good thing we had you in that ball turret, let me tell you. I think about
You
that a
felt
lot.
safer with me in there, did you?
Yeah,
Yes, they
absolutely.
said, that guy ain't got a thing to drink down there, we know it. He can't raise his arm up down there.
Yeah, 'cause that was a key spot down there.
You know, 2 or 3 people at that meeting said, you know, I wouldn't have flown to that same place for any amount of money.
That's
Weren't
right.
you afraid? And I said, no, I was never very bright, I guess.
Oh,
So, you know, I really, that didn't seem any worse to me than any place else in the airplane. I mean, when you're standing behind one of those aluminum walls that's about this thick,
Oh,
and man, you're safe, cause you can't see anybody, and then all that stuff going through there just like,
Oh, that
Looked
flag
like a
that comes
sieve.
through, just get right through the riddle of the
somebody
plane.
mentioned at this meeting, about us, bombing in direct support of the Russian field artillery, but they kinda changed it a little bit. And I intend to remember who reported that. But that's the time we bombed, the German field artillery on Lake Balaton. When you look at the map, you can find Lake Balaton.
Yeah, I know, we had
And,
something with the Russians here.
And the Russians were on the backside. We bombed at 26,000 feet, dropped to 16,000 feet over the Russian lines, and they opened up on us like shot us down.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
remember we had 370 or 80 holes in the airplane. Because Louis Gwynn was on the ground crew,
Well, they didn't know.
lives here in Lebanon. And I said, Louis, what in the world, how did you patch those holes? I don't remember ever seeing pieces of metal with rivets in them, you know. Oh, he said, we had panels. Did you know they
Oh, is
had?
that what they did?
He said, we just cut the rivets off and put a whole new slab on them. I mean, those
Because I know
planes
they
were
did have
sections.
some of those little patches on
Yeah,
here and there.
but he said they just, well,
'Cause in
ours
the
was so
nose,
bad
they
shape,
had
they just
a
reluminized.
plexiglass, thing that they glued on or something. They put the
Band-Aid.
holes in there, Band-Aid, yeah.
Stuck a Band-Aid over the hole.
Well, they say the Russians just
Trying to get you
stuck
to go
there,
home.
but they didn't have, aircraft identification
Yeah.
in school.
I
Like
never
this.
could remember what they told, but we had American flag on our sleeve, wore our 45s out here, and I would have got killed because they said if you have to bail out, throw your 45 out, and I never could remember if I was supposed to yell Amerikansky.
Amerikansky Loshi,
I don't remember that.
American Airman.
Well, the thing that always worried me is I didn't remember if I was supposed to know Amerikansky or Amerikansky, and they said if you say the wrong one, they'll shoot you. And the guy says in 9 chances out of 10 they'll shoot you anyway. So I thought, well, why should I worry with cluttered up my mind with?
No, you get the right word. There's an incentive to learn that they're gonna shoot you.
They said they're going to shoot you anyway. So I thought the thing is I better fall and pull my shoe about 2 feet off the ground.
They always told us that they liked our 45s. Said if you had it, well, you were a big man if you had a 45.
Well, they told
That's what
us
they
to
told
throw them out into so they could see us throw it away.
So who's right?
I don't know.
Maybe they wanted us to get shot.
Oh, that's probably it. They had too many gunners, and they probably had them back in the stateside. They said, well, let's get rid of a bunch of them so we can ship these guys out.
This audio was October 8, 2000, following the 21st annual reunion of the 15th Air Force 463rd Bomber Group held in Indianapolis from October 4th through October 7th. Ernst Decker and family were treated to a brunch by Keith and Aretta Cunningham at the Holiday Inn in Lebanon, Indiana. In attendance also were Ernst's son, Don, and his wife, Karen, and 2 children, and also his daughter, Christine, and her son. Keith and Aretta's sons, Jerry and wife Sharon Cunningham from Port Huron, Michigan, came down, as well as their son Ronald, also known as Tony, and wife Sarah, and grandson Joe in attendance. Ernst was a bombardier, and Keith was a ball turret gunner on a B-17 named Old Lucky in the 774th Squadron.